Hello, good evening. I'm Oral Gibbs, and welcome to Speaking of Everything. And with me this evening for the 2015 season of Speaking of Everything as we enter into 31st year, because last year we celebrated 30 years. None other than the Chief Executive Officer of the St. Maarten Harbour Group of Companies, Mr. Mark Mingo. How are you doing, sir?
Good evening, Oral. First of all, I'd like to actually wish your viewers Happy New Year, and it's good to be back on your show.
Well, it's good to have you on the program, and I want to extend a happy new year to you and your family. Wish you all the best and your staff over at the Port of St. Martin.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, so when you look back at 2014, the harbor celebrated 50 years, and I think you've been the youngest CFO at the port, right?
Yeah, being the youngest CEO moving forward, I guess 2015 will be 13 years. So it's been a long while, but I think we have developed as well from. I remember when I started in 2002. We had actually two companies, a holding company and the Simon Ports Authority, and today we have expanded our services and revenue base as well to 13 companies. It's a lot, but again, 2015 more challenges, and there's a lot of good stuff coming from the harbor.
Now, I understand that you've also been selected as the chairman of the new tourism authority for St. Martin.
Yes, that as I was unanimously voted as chairperson of the Tourist Authority, and we hope to get a clear vision on what we want with Destination St. Martin. So we not only be looking at the cruise tourism, but I think we'll be looking at the tourism base as a whole. The objectives and where we're going, and I think that's going to be a very important authority. And as you read in a lot of reports in 2014, even I believe in one of the integrity reports, is that a tourist authority is needed for us to have a clear vision on where we're heading with Destination St. Martin.
So when you also look celebrating 50 years, and you did any real special things for that 50 year?
Well, I think the most important thing, Oral, last year for 50 years, I can recall we had several events. We had, of course, the year-end event of 2013, which we celebrated with the employees as well. We had in 2014 the FCCA conference, which was a huge success. Looking at the feedback we got from the executives, also from the president of FCCA, it was the best attended conference and best conference in 21 years. Also, what we had for the 50 years, of course, we celebrated the same anniversary with Princess Cruises, where you had Regal Princess coming to St. Martin, which we also closed off with a celebration fireworks. And leading up to 2015, I believe we do have challenges, and we have to deal with them accordingly. It's not easy. We have a great team at the Harbour, a small team. The board of directors has given full support as well, and of course our new minister. We are getting off the foot on this as well, and we'll see from there.
Now, it's not only cruise, but what about containers? There's a lot of work. I was up there a few years ago and seen all the traffic. It's amazing.
Yeah, to recap, a lot of people in the port would say that we're only in cruise business. That's not the case. We have 4 pillars. One of the pillars, of course, is the cargo facility, which of course has the 2 cranes. I know the crane has a long history. The crane company has a long history, but during the acquisition, I believe 7 or 8 years back, we own the cranes. We have purchased a new crane as well, and that is needed to be able to offload the vessels. This year, for example, 2015, the vessels will almost double in size. So you're talking about a double of size of the TU vessels. That's a term used in cargo for container, 20-foot equivalent unit. It basically means that if a ship doubled in size from 1,200 TEUs to 2,200 TEUs, you would need the proper equipment to offload these vessels. Offloading these cargo vessels also means that if it trickles down, for example, you have the smaller vessels who carry smaller amounts of containers to the surrounding islands. Very important is also the connectivity, of course, with St. Bart's, Anguilla, but not forgetting our best islands or our sister island, Save and Station.
So there's a lot of container traffic.
Yes, there's a lot of container traffic, but there's also loose cargo traffic, which is
Really?
of course, you have to keep it in simple terms. There are a lot of people ordering online on Sears.com.
Oh, okay.
You go to HomeDepot.com, and all of that is consolidated as loose cargo, and those are things are put in a container as well and offloaded in St. Martin. So normally you call that in cargo terms, you strip containers and also reload them again and make sure that they're distributed to the islands. And the islands are dependent on the cargo facilities as well. You know, and there are challenges as well, because now we are contemplating, when you talk about security, I believe in 2014 you read about, you know, certain things happening at cargo, not only narcotics, but also security is an issue. Security is high on the agenda when you talk about ISPS, when you talk about anti-terrorism and those kind of things. And we're also looking and working with customs, not only customs, but also even in end of 2014, we even had a meeting with the MOT, which is the MOT. That's ongewone transacties, financiële transacties. It basically means we have to work with all authorities to make sure that that things are done accordingly to international standards. And that is very important if you want to be a leading port, not only in the Caribbean, but a leading port in this market.
I also noticed that you all have been working hard on green energy. The windmills, what happened? I understand.
Yes, well, you know, we had in 2014 we had, of course, we had a hurricane, Gonzola, if I may say. Out of these 6 windmills, one was hit hard, and we actually took that down. So we are down to 5. I know there's an appraisal. We're busy with the appraisal or the look in with insurance companies to see if we can get back. But the windmills are damaged, and we hope to replace them soon in this quarter. But again, it's you know, the windmills are part of our green thinking. I think we don't only speak about the green thinking, but we also execute it, and that is what you see also in that line of business. Cruise. You know, cruise ships are very environmentally sound. You have also seen the actions with the Lagoon Authority, the famous Lagoon Authority, which we have a partnership with Nature Foundation as well, where we really look at getting the environment, or at least changes in the environment, making sure that is environmental awareness moving forward. So that is what I can add.
All right, we have to go to a break. In case you've just joined us, we're speaking with the CFO of the St. Martin Harbour Group of Companies, Mr. Mingo. When we come back, we'll continue speaking with him right here on Speaking of Everything.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
You're watching Speaking of Everything. I'm Earl Gibbs. My guest this evening is Mr. Mark Mingo. He's the Chief Executive Officer, CEO of the St. Martin Harbour Group of Companies. That's correct, right?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
All right, so, you know, the cruise facility at the AC Wadi cruise facility, it's enormous. It is like also the envy of the Caribbean because there's nothing like it.
Yeah, that's right. I think you've been following in 2014, and I've been mentioning that for some time now, is that that the competition is catching up. I think we still are ahead, but there's some work to be done. If you look at, for example, the stakeholders which are part of the success of the port, we should not forget the stakeholders like the security companies. You have the cleaning companies, the companies who pick up recycle. You have the agents. You also have, of course, the taxi association, the water taxis. Those play a very important element in the whole service, you know, the service experience. Now, we have to move it a notch further. What we've done now for the port, and that's what we're going to execute in 2015, is we're not going to talk only about concession agreements. You know, that has been a big item in 2014 as well, is a concession. What is a concession? A concession basically is simple, is agreement between two parties, which you live up to that agreement, you're paid for that agreement to deliver a service. What we've changed here now in 2015, it will be a service level concession. meaning that we will be looking at your performance.
Right.
We've done that for the employees,
Yeah.
and that is part of evaluations, etc. But we have to do that for the partners as well. And you've seen the positive changes, but that is something we will execute in 2015. Of course, you saw in 2014 there was a shift in the board of the taxi association. There's even a new president, and I told them, I say, end of the day, you know, the service level is the most important measurement point. You have to make sure that the satisfaction level of the guest is the highest, and that is something we will be working on in 2015 because our service level has dropped, and we need to get serious about it. And again, being part of the tourist authority will also make sure that we learn from the other sectors, if it's now stay over or the yachting part of it or whatever line of tourism. We need to consolidate it and come with a serious plan. How are we going to adjust or at least promote the island and making sure that you give the highest service level. So that is something we will be working on in 2015.
Now, the tourism authority is something new for St. Maarten compared to places like Aruba that's been doing it for a long time.
Yes, I sometimes get often oral. You're right on that. I believe we were talking about that this was a discussion for the last 10 or 15 years. I don't think, for me, it's not who created it or who could take the kudos for me, no, but it's needed. If you go to any conference, you have Aruba, Curacao, the British Islands, they have their tourism authority leading conferences. And that is how it should be because you are actually selling the destination. It's nice to have a good airport, run airport, or a good run port, but end of the day, what are you selling? You are selling the product of St. Maarten. That's something which with the tourist authority, you can actually consolidate and synergize across the board. And that's, that is also something we'll be working on as, not only as a port, but as a team, the tourism authority team as well.
So you all will be meeting frequently or once a
Well,
month?
we'll be meeting, the normal frequency of meetings will be what, once a quarter, and then of course you have a board. We haven't made a decision yet who is going to, there will be a new director, of course, as well, and that is something I need to discuss in detail with the minister. That is something the minister needs to decide upon, but also there's a very important integration with the older tourist office or tourist bureau, which you also have employees working. And there needs to be clarity on how we move forward. There's a bit of a disconnect, and that is one of our jobs. We need to make sure that we refocus the purpose of why we have actually are in tourism. Why are we doing tourism for the island? Right. That is something important.
All right, in case you've just joined us, you're watching Speaking of Everything. I'm speaking with Mr. Mark Mingo. He's the Chief Executive Officer for the St. Maarten Harbour Group of Companies, which consists of, 12, 13 companies?
13 companies.
13 companies. When we come back, we'll continue speaking with him right here on Speaking of Everything.
At Nagico, the things that matter to you matter to us. Like knowing you're fully covered after an accident. The security of your home and everything in it that means so much to you. And knowing that even when the weather does its worst, you and your family are covered. At Nagico, we're about much more than just insurance. We're about the big things and the small things that mean everything.
At SXM, we're taking travel and tourism to new heights. Here we boast spacious check-in areas, 10 passport control points, comfortable departure lounges, and an exciting new airport mall. Finally, there's an airport in the Caribbean that takes your travel plans as seriously as you do. Princess Juliana International Airport.
You're watching Speaking of Everything. I'm Earl Gibbs. I'm speaking with Mr. Mark Mingo. He's the Chief Executive Officer for the St. Maarten Harbour Group of Companies, and we're here speaking with him about the Port of St. Maarten, where most of the cargo and visitors by cruise ship come in. But then we also have the lagoon that you're also responsible for, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think everybody has been following a lot of discussions about the Lagoon Authority, and you know, you can argue, is it a regulator, is not a regulator. I don't really want to go into those details. But I think it's very important that the Lagoon Authority has a management agreement with government, and we have to live up to what is stated in that management agreement. And even with the incoming new minister, you know, we're going to have discussions on what we really want with SLAC, the Lagoon Authority, because I think clarity needs to be there. I think clarity, it's fair to say that the partners in this industry wants clarity as well. What are we going to do with it? And I'm willing to open that discussion and make sure that any frictions which are in the way of having economic activity and make sure that a business can grow, we will address that accordingly as well. So, you know, we are a partner in this, and we listen as well. So, yes, indeed, there's a lot of work there still to be done. You know, the first bridge, I know, with the causeway operations, the bridge has an end of life. I believe 4 or 5 more years. The first bridge, which connects Simpson Bay as well, that has an end of life, and we will need to address that seriously with the minister and partners. So, you know, I'm looking forward in those discussions for 2015.
And also, how's the partnership with Nature Foundations going?
Well, the partnership with Nature Foundation is we have worked on that over the years with Tazio. I think we can do more when you look at what is needed to clean up the lagoon. If you talk about the wrecks, if you talk about certain programs, to get more structure in there. And you know, we need to be seriously about how are we going to fund this. Should it be through the Lagoon Authority? Should it be through the Tourist Authority? Should it be through government? But you know, you got to get real. I mean, if you look at Nature Foundation, they play a very important role, and they always need to be independent of what they do, because at the end of the day, without our natural resources, we have nothing. And also in 2015, we are looking to also improve, you know, the working relationship with marine trade. I believe, you know, we need to sit and really look at how we can solve and move forward, because at the end of the day, it's about St. Maarten. And if we don't make those changes, you know, the business will suffer. Because at the end of the day, again, competition is out there. You have Antigua, you have St. Kitts, and we need to address certain issues, because if you look at business models like fueling, fuel charges, etc., if you don't address them, we're overpricing ourselves. You can also overprice yourself out of the market, and we shouldn't take that for granted.
Now, when you look at, there's been other things. For example, I'll show on the monitor here. This is construction of the new causeway when it was on the way. It is now open. It's really beautiful. A few critics saying there, but I think it's serving the purpose. What do you think about it so far?
Well, the causeway has you know, the experts, and you know, I'm going to say as expert, I myself, I'm a structural engineer, so I know I can see the difference. But when you look at the experts and what we did, even with the traffic study, it's helping the traffic. Now, I would agree with you, Oral, that when you look now even on moving up to the causeway, there are bottlenecks, and the bottlenecks are created by the side roads on the Union Road, and I think once that has been established, we can really work on solving the bottlenecks. But before you even go in any serious onteigening process with broadening the road or anything, you will have to solve those bottlenecks and look at the flows of traffic. And there are different ways of doing that. I believe in 2004 there even was a presentation on the traffic department. I believe Romy was there as well. We need to solve those bottlenecks together, and that information we will again be we will be sharing to come to a solution. But the causeway indeed is just the first step, and there are different links also we need to look at and to make sure that the links are executed. And we're not always. I mean, the port is not a police company. It's a facilitator, and sometimes you need to shake it up and make sure that things are being done as well. But again, 2014 for us it was a success, and we will continue to make sure that all the elements are there in Simpson Bay to make sure that the traffic flows and make sure that the economy continues to progress.
Now, when it comes to the bridge opening, there is 2 of them. Are they open at different intervals between the...
Yes, what we had is we communicated different times. I think when Bridge 1 opens up, there's amount of time, I believe 20 minutes before you go to the second opening of the swing bridge.
Yeah.
I believe most of the marinas are in the first phase, so the second phase you have lesser traffic, but I believe there's a lot of enough times, opening times and synchronization between the 2. That has also been discussed in the traffic report study, which was made in the end of 2014, and that is something we will be looking at of more synchronization. I believe also you read I believe in the 4th quarter of 2014 that we have a partnership with GB where the signs We're also light up with alternative energy to make sure that the traffic, people in the traffic are well informed on what time Bridge 1 is open, what time is Bridge 2 open, so you don't have any, they can use that to their advantage, the information of those billboards as well.
You know, many years ago, and I go back to like 1991, 92, there was a study done at the time where the lagoon, it was recommended that boats not anchor in the lagoon, but they be tied to a sign buoy to protect the vegetation and so forth. But it seems like that's not happening.
Yeah, well, you're talking about in maritime terms of moorings. You know, we talk about moorings. You got to be careful also with moorings. Number one, moorings, they cost money. That's one. But I always say when something costs money, you can always charge for using that mooring, and it's about safety. And then, of course, we also discuss that with Maritime Inspectorate. Second thing, you have the liability issue. If the moorings are not properly put in or properly maintained, you have an issue there at your hand when a vessel breaks off the mooring and hits maybe in a marina or even hits a causeway. We had issues that you had certain vessels hit a causeway and then they were actually holding the Lagoon Authority liable, which is not the case, yes. Because then you go into a very technical issue is before you leave, vessels come in the lagoon, you have to check that the paperwork is in order, that they're insured, especially like a car on a road, you have to make sure that the paperwork is insured. The question is, how do you legally address this? We're busy with that with the Maritime Inspectorate, and that is also something we need to address in 2015. Also, what you have seen, that the yachts are actually growing and growing and getting bigger, and basically a gigi yacht is like a small cruise ship. They can't go in a lagoon anymore. So, you know, those are the things we're looking at. But again, that industry is also changing rapidly, and that's something we will, hopefully in the third quarter of 2015, you will see that we address that with the master plan we're busy with as well. So I can touch base more on that with the master plan.
All right. In case you've just joined us, you're watching Speaking of Everything. I'm speaking with Mr. Maarten Mingo, Chief Executive Officer of the St. Maarten Harbour Group of Companies. When we come back, we'll continue speaking with him right here on Speaking of Everything.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
You're watching Speaking of Everything, and we're into our 32nd year. Last year we celebrated 30 years of this program. On the 1st of March, we'll celebrate 31 years of Speaking of Everything. My guest this evening, Mr. Maarten Mingo, Chief Executive Officer of the St. Maarten Harbour Group of Companies. We're here speaking with him. So it's an exciting year, a lot of things happening. Cruise ships, you think you're going to hit the 2 million mark?
Well, when I looked, I think we just missed the 2 million mark in 2014 because of Gonzalo. We had some cancellations. I believe we'll always be around the 1.8 to 2 million mark. I think that is, you know, based on a capacity study to say what is our maximum capacity. But I think the ships are getting bigger. So, you know, even if you see a little drop or little increase, around that mark is a healthy mark. And what I said in the beginning of your program, we have to look at the service level and if we're contributing back. Again, we need to offer the tourists more. There's a lot of repeats visits, and that is something we'll be working on in 2015.
And the last time you spoke you also spoke about, you know, the cruise ships work with different groups on the island and so forth. How's that going since the FCCA meeting here?
Well, I think there was a lot of positive response, and when I go back looking at, for example, the home porting, you know, a lot of people ask me, why are you not home porting? I believe in 2014 we started with a home porting vessel, was I believe Cruzeiro vessel, where we were home porting a vessel of 2,000 passengers from Pullman Tour. Started in Dominican Republic, and we are up to 100 going on board on St. Maarten. And then we still had the Seabourn and some other small home porting vessels. So there was a lot of spin-off of the FCCA. You will be hearing that during the 2015 season. I'm not good. I can't be able, of course, to tell you everything. But there's been some spin-off, some serious spin-off on the FC conference. And again, the number speaks for itself, but I think we need to more diversify even within the cruise industry itself.
So you know, when you look at it, a lot of people don't realize, and I said this to you many times, is that people drive by and they don't realize the operation that's going on of the Maarten Harbour Group. It's amazing, the amount of work.
Yes, I think, Oral, I've also said that, you know, in even coming on your show and talking more to the media, I believe I said it last year that I will be communicating more with the general public. We have our open days, I think on St. Martin Day or even Maritime Day. We have our opening days. There's even, we still do a lot of work with the kids, but if there's a group out there who's interested in a business, just like we did with the FCC conference, we had one day fully designated for local entrepreneurs, which was a success. Don't feel free, call the port and pass by. I'm accessible, I have a team there which can answer your questions.
All right. I want to wish you all the best for the year, but I think you brought me this coconut chocolate. The man wanted me to put on more weight this year after Christmas. Thanks a lot, I really appreciate it.
Well, Oral, you've always been you've been a believer in the port. You've been giving us structural criticism as well. I don't want to say that you know, you only should be a friend of us that because you don't criticize. No, we need all eyes out there, and it's not easy. I mean, you've seen all the developments in 2014 with the integrity report, so we'll be touching base on a lot of points in 2015. But again, the port takes its business serious, and on many occasions I said we run the port on business intelligence and not only on the social media part of it. So I'd like to tell you thank you again.
And thanks again to you, and much success and all the best to you and your family for this 2015.
Okay, same to you too.
All right. Mr. Mark Mingo, Chief Executive Officer for the St. Martin Harbour Group of Companies. And that's it for now. I'll see you next time. Until then, good night. Take care. Bye.